preparing to stream. Well, it should be streaming. Or there we go. I can spot you. But yeah, this is the type of crap that we get where it's like annoying. Although, yes, it's safety toolkit if you don't know how to use it. You know, everything else. The learning center. But, you know, it's all there, folks. Oh, I'm just tired. Okay, so what is today's? Uh, oh, which one is Pret? Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck. I'm just so dragging today. Oh, oh. Mm-hmm. But we got never go fishing off the company pier. That's the difference between billable code. It's always fun to check out the website. But, you know, what else is going on? In YouTube land. Of course, I had more fun responding to somebody in a comment that decided when I made a comment on things that they were giving a long, just a long moment of going, what the fuck? Seriously. Yeah.
For today's video, I've sent famous purveyor of high quality goods, Temu.com, 450 Canadian dollars of my money. And in return, apparently they've sent me a whole ass MacBook Pro. But before we find out what abomination I've received, a quick word from today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Be Quiet's light mount Bot 10 keyless. This is the perfect Be Quiet keyboard for gamers that don't have time for loser activities like Excel. Look at all that extra room for gaming activities. So if you want a high quality 10 keyless gaming keyboard with a big knob and quiet
He said knob.
switches, get yourself a Be Quiet light mount TKL with the link down below. 10 keyless keyboards from Be Quiet's Keyboards. Wait a second, I'm not supposed to be out here in this video. This is for the new channel that's come, bro. It could have been used as armor plating in Fallujah, but I think it's gonna be a real MacBook Pro. Fingers crossed. Wild tangent, but for the last couple of weeks, I have not been able to find my box cutter. It's been super annoying. I've been having to use like primo Ziploc baggy quality, by the way. We didn't get some Shenzhen river fished out plastic, which is a nice touch. Aside from a couple of nicks, the power brick seems remarkably unsavaged, although good way to ship it. Wow, it says designed by Apple in California on the bottom and everything. The condition is immediately, very used. We've got a pretty significant dent over here. And it looks like somebody used it to do some ore mining. The corners are brutal. It's like all
Temu is selling used equipment. That's it. Of course, this is always fun. Who's too old? I'm too old.
Can I really convince you that these 10 rock icons should hang up their guitars? And no, this isn't about disrespect. It's about legacies and the natural evolution of a music career. And nobody makes that conversation harder to have than Eric Clapton. The man is a living god. Slow hand. One of the most influential guitarists who ever breathed. But if you've watched him on the 2024 and 2025 tours, something feels genuinely different. The fluid phrasing that once seemed effortless now comes with very visible effort. The voice is thinner, the stamina clearly rationed more carefully, and Clapton himself has openly mentioned hearing loss, tinnitus, and peripheral neuropathy affecting his playing. He's not hiding it, he's fighting through it every single night, which is admirable, genuinely. But there's a point where fighting through it stops honoring the music and starts doing it a quiet disservice. He's edging toward that line.
Oh, I totally agree with that. But this is always interesting to see.
I've been using the 10 gig Ethernet port on my Mac Studio. I can edit 4K videos straight off my NAS over the network. I can also run backups at like a gigabyte per second. But I want more. I upgraded my rack and my NAS to 25 gigs a couple years ago, but nothing else in the studio takes advantage of that yet. I looked up 25 gig networking options for the Mac, and they're all crazy expensive. Like this Sonnet adapter is $1,000. That's way more than I'm willing to pay. But if you need it on a Mac, you have to pay because you can't just use PCI Express cards. You have to use Thunderbolt. It's too bad Apple kind of killed off those Mac Pros, isn't it? So I kind of shelved that idea until I saw this blog post. Someone found a cheap 25 gig Thunderbolt adapter that looks like it's using server pull hardware with a little adapter board, and you can get it going on a Mac. And back in January when he posted that, it was only $160, which for me, that's an insta-buy. Since that time, it jumped up to $299, which still might be good compared to the Sonnet, but I won't blame you if 10 gigs is enough at that price point. But before I could test 25 gigs, I actually had to run some new fiber to my desk. When I built out the studio, I ran fiber up to the front room where I thought I'd set up my desk. But then, once I moved in, I realized the studio space was a way better environment for sound, so I set up shop in here, where I only dropped Cat6a, which is only good for 10 gigs. After I pulled some fiber, I wound up plugging in this short patch cable, which has been there for a couple months now. I'm sure if you subscribe to Level 2 Jeff, you've seen it a few times. Well, while recording this video, I finally fixed that by buying a 5-meter cable and putting it in the cable channel on the wall. Much better now. But with that direct 25 gig fiber connection, I tested the bandwidth. That's when I ran into two problems. First, the version of iPerf 3 I was running on the NAS was too old. Multi-threading wasn't working, so no matter what, I was TCP maxing around 15 gigabits. And second, the enclosure was getting hot. Like, I completely forgot to get footage before I stuck on these heatsinks, but it was really painful to even touch it. I could solve the first problem pretty easily. I just compiled the latest version of iPerf 3. That got me to 20 gigabits since more than one CPU core could handle the transfers on my NAS now. But the second problem, that was a little more tricky. You see, the enclosure got hot, but it wasn't even thermally bonded to the OCP2 network card that was running inside. That means the actual chips that handle the network traffic, those things were cooking. And they had little heatsinks on them, but these things are meant to be inside servers with high pressure fans like this one, not in a passively cooled enclosure. It was basically acting like a little oven. Now in that original blog post, Christian mentioned he slapped a couple giant heatsinks on the enclosure. That brought the chip down to a temperature that it wasn't cooking itself anymore, but it was still getting pretty hot. I wanted to make sure things were stable because this is my main workstation, and there are times I'll be pushing through 25 gigs for minutes, maybe even hours at a time, and that means I want active cooling. My first idea was to just set this fan in front of the thing with a couple small heatsinks. That kinda worked, but it would still get a little hot. Plus, the fan was just loud enough to be distracting even on its lowest setting. And it was right around this time that Prusa actually sent me an email asking if I wanted to try out some of the new filament that they worked on with Noctua to match the color of their signature brown and beige fans. I had just finished upgrading my Mark IV to a Mark IVS with my son, and they also offered to send a Core 1 if I wanted to test their latest and greatest printer, and that was an offer I couldn't refuse. So here's what I did. I printed a prototype fan cowling in orange since I was still waiting on the Noctua spools after the Core 1 showed up. I made it so you take off one side of the enclosure, screw this shroud on, and screw in an 80mm fan. It fits together nicely, but there were a couple small issues. One was this little gap between the fan and the shroud. I know from past experience, air has a funny way of not pushing through higher pressure zones if you give it room to escape, so that gap has to go. The other was this USB cable for fan power, which just looks ugly. So I tweaked the final design a bit to make the fan flush, and here's that version. I printed it in Noctua's beige colored PLA, along with a Noctua brown fan grill. It printed perfectly, though I did have a few gripes with the Core 1 that I'll get to in a separate video sometime. For power though, I figured there has to be a way to tap.
So yeah. Of course, what my buddy loves to do is anything has the Linux. What is this?
Ellis Johnston spent his first night inside a dome staring at the ceiling. Not sleeping, just staring, listening, waiting for something to go wrong. He'd been sleeping outside in Austin for close to 10 years by then. Parks, overpasses, the back of a parking garage off 6th Street, where a security guard occasionally looked the other way. He knew how to sleep outside. He'd gotten good at it in the way you get good at anything you do every night for a decade. Light sleep. one ear always open. The part of your brain that's supposed to rest never fully going offline because something in you has learned over years and years that it cannot. The dome was maybe 200 square feet. His old sleeping spot under the parking garage was bigger than that, but the dome had a door, and the door locked from the inside. And Ellis Johnston lay there in the dark in January 2016 and could not figure out what to do with that. That's the thing nobody mentions when they talk about these places. Not the price of the dome, not the engineering, not whether it scales. The thing nobody mentions is what it actually does to a person, specifically to their body, to their nervous system the first night they sleep somewhere that locks. And I've been thinking about that for a long time. I spent 3 years without a permanent address between 2016 and 2019. Not because of addiction, not because of prison. A divorce, a job loss, and a rent payment I couldn't make on one income. And in that time I slept in a lot of places, most of which I would not describe to you in detail, and I met a lot of people who knew things I didn't know, and I have never forgotten. One of them. I'm making this video because somebody sent me a thumbnail last month of a dome sitting on a flat piece of Texas land with the words, $2,000 dome home written across it. And my first reaction was not curiosity, it was recognition, because I know what's inside that dome. Not the floor plan, not the insulation specs. What's inside it is a person who has not slept a full 8 hours in a very long time, lying in the dark, listening to the walls, trying to figure out why they still can't rest. And I want to talk about that because I think it's the most important part, and I think it's the part that keeps getting skipped. Here's what one of these places actually is before we go any further. The domes that get viral.
Oh. Something's outside. There's activity outside, of course. Wait a minute, wait. That should be interesting. Come on, load.
this video, I'm going to show you how I modified and modernized an old MacBook from a flea market, making it completely unrecognizable, but useful in 2026. To do this, I redesigned its shape from scratch, improved its cooling system, maxed out the RAM, modernized the charging port, and added several mods that make it a one-of-a-kind Mac. Time to smash it. This video is sponsored by Flash. Okay, I found this 2012 MacBook a couple of years ago, completely wrecked at the flea market. I'll link the video at the end for you to check out, but in short, I repaired and restored it until it was fully functional. The problem is, let's be realistic, a MacBook like this isn't very useful as a laptop nowadays, since for a little money, you can buy a MacBook Neo or any other laptop with many times the power of this machine. So, I decided to completely transform it into a weird hybrid between a MacBook, an iMac, and a Mac Mini, with various details that will make it look and perform like a modern computer, while recycling hardware from nearly 15 years ago. The first thing I did was take it apart to upgrade the RAM to the maximum possible. This MacBook Pro supports up to 16 gigabytes of RAM and uses DDR3 modules. Once the new modules were installed, I turned it back on and confirmed that the new RAM was working correctly. Then, before swapping the hard drive for the new SSD, I realized that through the Thunderbolt port, I could boost this MacBook using this Ugreen docking station, giving it 3 10 gigabits per second USB ports, an SD and micro SD card reader, a second network port, and a USB-C display port. The problem was that even though I could connect this docking station via the Mac's USB ports, I couldn't do it via the Thunderbolt port because the generations are too far apart. The Mac's Thunderbolt generation is the first, while the docking station is the fifth. And the point of using the Mac's Thunderbolt port is that it's by far the fastest port it has. This port runs at up to 10 gigabits per second, while the USB ports only run at half that speed, 5 gigabits per second. So, I felt that if I integrated this docking station into this project, it would be a waste.
Yeah, this is getting one of those things.
So you know how we've been talking about going back to the old internet, the older internet, as things get worse and worse with AI-infused algorithms, fever dreams, and corporate profit. Now it looks like MySpace might make a comeback and they might roll back to what it was back in the aughts.
Well, let's hope so, because I am getting tired of the whole, algorithm and AI and all that shit. That's like watching everything you do to try to, predict what you want to see and things like that instead of letting you find what you want to find.
Yeah, so this is interesting. MySpace, I mean, it never really disappeared, but if you go out to the site, it's just all like music news and stuff. It's nothing like what it used to be. And MySpace was the precursor to Facebook. In fact, I remember it being controversial to migrate from MySpace to Facebook. Everybody's like, well, Facebook is new and it's going to be a flash in the pan. And
Yeah.
I'm already on MySpace. And like, it was huge back in the mid 2000s, late 2000s. Like all these bands would have, concerts and clips on MySpace. A lot of comic book companies were trying to publish on MySpace back then. But the thing about it.
Yep. The thing about it. Gotta love Clownfish TV.
In this video, I'm going to be upgrading the soldered onboard storage of this Apple MacBook Neo from its stock 256GB configuration to its absolute maximum of 1TB. Now, upon hearing me say that, you might take a look at the Apple configuration options for this machine and see that officially it only supports up to 512GB. Now, while that definitely is the case, I personally think that this machine can support up to 1TB solely because the iPhone 16 Pro, which the A18 Pro SoC in this machine comes from, supports up to 1TB officially. So what I intend to do in this video is simply use the NAND from the 1TB configuration of the iPhone 16 Pro and see if it works in the MacBook Neo. So I've got that right here in front of me. You can see that this is a BGA 315 NAND, and we will take a closer look at that in just a little bit. But what I intend to do is solder that onto this machine and just see if it works.
Always a fun time.
So before we do that, of course, I want to go ahead and unbox the machine and take it apart so I can show you the internals of it. And then we'll do a little bit of analysis, see if this 1TB NAND that I purchased is even physically going to fit inside this.
Of course, I want to check something else out. Excuse me. This will require me to use the Windows app. That didn't work. Which one is it? Oh, you know what? Refresh, relaunch. Bye, 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 bye. Of course, this has to be done on something else. Let's go. Let's see. We want to do. Oh, come on. My brain is going, what the? Oh, okay. So why? Because there's something on my keyboard. Oh, that's always fun. There we go. Because it's always fun to play with Linux in the morning. And updating and updating and updating in the morning. Ain't that a fun thing to do? Right about there. So yeah, as some may know or pay attention to, I do go and play with AI way too much, even at the point of changing an old gaming PC I built about a year or two ago. And I don't have time. I don't spend a lot of time at home. So gaming just doesn't appeal as much. Oh, come on. Well, now that that's open, because this is one of the fun things, is without me signing into the machine. There we go. There's our buddy. Because trust me, this is annoying comparatively to this. It's a lot easier. And this is the remote desktop. Type it in, type it in. So yes, this is a virtual machine, as you can see right here. Um, uh, that I use. So one of the things I got to go and fix is the AI itself, the large language models. So what I gotta do is go like this. Get into I need to definitely fix the large language models that are being used on my AI box, because I can get into web open AI, the web part, but the models are not showing up. Come on, load up the firmware. So what we're gonna do is Oh, wait a minute. If that's there, let's see if this is going to work. Oh. Yeah, this is getting interesting. This is the fun of running your own AI model. Oh no! Why that is so much fun right now is that I gotta wait until it restarts. So much fun. Then even on top of it, I have to do the council shit. Yes, because once it restarts, I have to go and do this crap again. Because once it's done that, then I can go over to this, click on the AI box. Let it go through its handshakes again. Come on. Configuring your remote PC. There it is. What is this one? Okay, that wasn't working. Of course. Ah, that's why. Sometimes it takes a moment to realize, did I have it been on? Is it going through the motion? You got the notion. Yeah. Of course, it's like, yes, I run it in a virtual machine. Oh, I'm just tired. That can go off to the side. We are just trying to figure out. Sometimes, just like, yeah, I don't want to work for you. What? You expect me to do something? Yeah, that shit happening. Oh, bunch of calls. Oh. Yep. Yeah. Something's off. Ugh. See, that's the issue. So let's go to our problem solver here. Let's go over here. This bothers me. Oh. Yeah, that's the trick to it. Oh. No. Well, folks, I gotta get on with my day. Money does not wait to be made. So, yes, I was just doing my check in and also just one of those statements about these platforms. And, when they rush people to agree to things, it's not a good thing. And just get tired. Okay, folks. You have yourself a good one. Sorry, it just not in the mode today.